At each year's end, it has become a tradition among British newsreels to review its great events. This year, Pathé breaks new ground with the first of a new annual series. To select the great moments of 1946, we invited the editors of Britain's leading newspapers. Here they are, named from left to right: Arthur Christensen, Daily Express, and Charles Eade, Sunday Dispatch. Of the London Star, A.L. Cranfield. Of the Birmingham Post, T.W. Hutton, with the News Chronicle's Gerald Barry. Next, the spectacled W.R. Richardson of Reynolds, and the People's Harry Ainsworth. The Daily Graphic's Roland Thornton. And next but one, Hugh Cudlip, Sunday Pictorial. On the right here, the Daily Herald's Percy Cudlip. Presiding for Pathé was Producer-in-Chief Howard Thomas. To the editors went our list, drawn from the year's newsreels, prepared by news editor Clement Cave. These men present the day's news to more than 25 million readers. In choosing for you this review of the year, they have based their selection on pictorial and news interest and on historical significance. From home news, all agreed on those spectacular victory parades. It was a day when king and people met to rejoice. All who celebrated in the towns and villages of Britain will remember it. But the victory parade was the recognition of great battles won in other years than 1946. Already it belonged to history. There were also all those other events which in their brief hour made headlines. There was the cup final. Result, Derby County 4, Charlton Athletic 1. The boat race, Oxford's 43rd victory. Scotland's Cowal Gathering. At Wimbledon, the tennis finals. The centre court was news again. Men's singles victory goes to lanky Frenchman Ivan Petra. In Wales, Princess Elizabeth becomes a bard. Also back is Test cricket. Back too is the wizardry of the great Don Bradman. To Tattenham Corner and the Epsom course, the 1946 Derby. In the foreground, the grey Airborne wins. In other races, French horses left us standing. But looking to the future, the editors chose Britain's health as the year's most important domestic issue. Most votes went to the government's National Health Bill. One aspect of this has been given to Pathé by Labour's Dr. Hayden Guest.
There will be no more doctors' bills.
Next in importance at home was the sudden rationing of bread. It was Britain's contribution to the battle against world hunger. It struck hardest at those already carrying heavy burdens: housewives, mothers with young children, people living alone. The year brought one phenomenon new to British life: the squatters. Homeless families in luxury hotels defied an official siege. Then, characteristically, when the courts pronounced against them, they accepted the decision and left without violence. There were many happier notes. After 6 years in grey war paint, the Queen Elizabeth went out from Southampton as the world's most beautiful ship. As the panel of editors studied the year in retrospect, they picked from it its memorable personalities. Not all great men, but each in his own sphere representing some part of world achievement. They were asked to choose the man of the year. Was it 90-year-old George Bernard Shaw? Was it Food Minister John Strachey, newcomer to the Labour front bench? Was it America's miners' leader John L. Lewis? Or that wonderful sportsman, marathon runner Sidney Wooderson? or Bert Cousins, who walked 3,000 miles? Did America's glamour girls justify their headline? Or did you prefer Miss Unity, the panda? Winning a place in the year's sport, Bruce Woodcock. After him, Oscar winner Bob Hope.
What is
Wanted
that?
an Oscar for many years. Here it is.
Are you sure you can spare this? Huh?
Yes.
I knew that Look gave an award, but this is the first time I ever knew that Reader's Digest was in this racket.
Well,
And Tommy Hanley.
Now, I've had a few pictures sent to me from England, which I'd like you to have a deco at. Now, there's the one.
Mr. Handler?
Sorry, Hutch. What about a game of hopscotch?
Among the serious challengers was United States President Harry Truman. In the voting, he was beaten by British Premier Clement Attlee. Main contestant was Russia's negotiator-in-chief Vyacheslav Molotov. For him, the 12 months of 1946 have been an almost unbroken series of conferences. He was judged second in the editor's ballot. Leader by a majority was our own Ernest Bevin. A foreign secretary in the great tradition of Palmerston and Canning, he was voted Man of the Year. In submitting the year's most memorable pictures for inclusion in a single newsreel, many important issues have of necessity been crowded out. In the international section in particular, the space limitations have kept out many of the important and controversial subjects Pathé News has presented during 1946. Among the year's most dramatic pictures come these from Switzerland. A wrecked aircraft, its passengers lost for 6 days in the Alps. The fear of death by starvation and cold, and the eventual rescue by Swiss mountaineers. Of special meaning to Britain, the problem of Palestine. British troops, the hardest worked ambassadors any nation ever had cause to be proud of, seeking to keep the peace in a quarrel which is not of their making. In the same tragic key, India. Leaders trained in agitation and revolt now face the task of building the new India for which they have preached. Mahatma Gandhi and his chief disciple, Pandit Nehru. In Europe, the year's most pressing issue was Germany. Pathé sent special investigators to seek out the truth about the food situation there. This was their report. The terrible retribution of the people who brought upon the world the curse of Nazism. To a Britain spending £80 million a year to keep them alive, Germans are an inescapable problem. Their plight carries the seed of future dangers. Also high in the editor's ballot was UNO. The assembled United Nations may not have filled us all with confidence, yet they are the only hope we have of eventual peace and security. But as a more dramatic symbol of the new era of world justice, the panel of editors chose the Nuremberg trial. For them, this was the international event of the year. Tried by Allied judges, the end of Goering, Ribbentrop and the rest. This was the editor's choice. But Pathé records show that for the men and women of Britain, the international story of 1946 was this. These were the events to burn most deeply into the memory. 5 times the atom bomb has scattered its detonations through the world. Twice upon the cities of an enemy, 3 times in military experiments. These are mankind's 5 warnings. A 6th, delivered in war, will mean the end of our civilization. That is the message of the year 1946.